All right, guys. I think I'm live. I think I am. I think I am. I don't know. I can't tell. I love living in the jungle, but man, when it comes to trying to be a YouTuber while living in the jungle, it's definitely kind of a headache. By the way, obviously my channel got reinstated. I'm not going to talk about it in this stream because I'm going to do a whole stream where I'm going to show, you know, screenshots and whatnot of all the stuff that happened. Um, and also go back into the past and kind of show some of my analytics that show that my shorts can get 200% watch time and still die at 38. Which, if the algorithm is doing what it's supposed to, that's not how that works. So I'm going to make that case, and it's not just for me. I really feel like this is a hugely important issue. The free exchange of information being throttled. Just like my internet connection right now for some reason, is not cool. And apparently this lagging could even be because of YouTube. They're saying that they're throttling shadow banned channels. So you get laggy streams because there's nothing wrong, and it's still lagging a little bit, and my upload speed is like 30. So interesting, right? So anyways, we left off this story after I was about 21 years old. I had gotten married to a girl that I thought was a nice, innocent country bumpkin type because I, wanted to calm myself down. I had been, growing up in all this violence and biker gangs, and then I moved to DC and became a teenage cocaine dealer and rose up through the ranks to be, pretty high up there for a 17-year-old. And I saw a lot of stuff, and I just really wanted to. I don't know if we can do it still. It's still lagging. I wanted to go out into the California hills and grow marijuana and play music and just get in touch with my psychedelic side and forget about all this insane violence and criminality and all that kind of stuff. Didn't work out that way. I did manage to have a massive spiritual transformation and connection in Colorado after I ended up in prison there. So in this segment, it's probably going to take 4 or 5 of these, so 2 or 3 more, or 1 or 2 more to get through the whole story. But in this segment, I think we're going to probably make it to my mystery illness and the devastating consequences of that. But I just want to remind everyone that eventually there is some positivity that comes out of this story. Although, there may be the necessity for a trigger warning here. And also just know, the thing that I'm wondering is, why am I having all this lag? Because I have lightning fast connection right now. So I'm a little bit confused. Difficult to maintain an audience with this happening. But, okay, so I believe we had just returned to Colorado from California. I wanted to go out to California, but we couldn't quite figure out how to get jobs, and I didn't really understand the marijuana industry yet, and I didn't know how to get trimming jobs. And so we went back to my friend's house, their apartment. 2 guys I had known from high school. One of them was my best friend, and one of them was my other best friend's brother. And they were going to school at Fort Leisure or Fort Lewis College. And we actually pretty much moved into their broom closet for a while. And I was just so blown away that I was actually traveling and, away from the East Coast. My parents were such white trash that we never left, the county, really. I mean, it was a major migration for us to, like, if we went to Virginia Beach 4 hours away, it was like incredible. And I was so fascinated by everything in the universe. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains, and I wanted to find real gemstones and, see deserts and the Rocky Mountains, and everywhere along this journey, every time I encountered one of those things, my mind was just blown because I felt like, I had overcome the impossible, and I had escaped, Pokel Drive and the inbred, incestuous, drug addict rednecks, chewing their teeth up and spitting them across the yard and all that. So, it was really liberating and sort of like an affirmation that I could actually do something. And so we ended up in this broom closet, and I had the first massive dose psychedelic experience of my life living in that apartment, because my friend, he had a combo toad. We didn't know that at the time. It was this big green monkey frog in his aquarium. He had like some geckos and this combo toad, but frog, really, they're not toads. But we didn't know what that was back then. But I remembered that frog the other day. And so he was also growing mushrooms. I had grown mushrooms before. This wasn't like, well, no, you know what? I had a heroic dose several times, but I ate a burrito. Like, I don't know why I did this. Like, it was not quite dry. And I think I thought that, you know, it still had further to go than it did. I think they were like almost dry. So I ate some, and I ate some more, and I ate some more, and I ate some more, and I started to feel sick, but not because the mushrooms were kicking in, because I literally had that much stuff in my stomach. And I still to this day, except that I think the mushrooms had a message for me, honestly, or something bigger. It's not even the mushrooms. It's the universal mind that had a bulletin that it needed to present to me. And so I'm not usually like this. I don't know why I was so reckless and determined to eat this entire burrito, but I just kept shoving it down. And I remember thinking, oh man, my stomach is too full. I shouldn't eat anymore. And also being fully well aware, man, if you're actually full of mushrooms, you probably shouldn't eat the rest of the burrito. But I forced it down, forced the whole burrito down. And it ended pretty much exactly like you would imagine. I remember bits and pieces of like my friend was going through an ego inflation thing, and I remember going back into his room, and he had made his hair into these two curls, and he was listening to this evil sounding techno with like babies crying, but in like horror movie fashion, and kind of growling at me when I went in there, and I was like, whoa, that's not really cool. So I went out to the kitchen, and my then wife asked me for a glass of water. And I guess I went to the refrigerator and got a thing of Parmesan cheese. And she said, that's Parmesan, that's not water. And so I took the lid off and poured the Parmesan on the floor. And that's when I think everyone knew that we were in a bit of trouble. Okay, that's good to know that the lag is better. I'm still getting the message that says the lag is terrible, but I'll just, have to power through. The streams, probably my antidote to this will be that my streams will be earlier in the day and later at night from now on, because it just drives me insane, breaks my concentration. But so I dumped the Parmesan cheese on the floor, and everyone knew we were in trouble. And so I guess I remember going back into one of the other rooms, and we were listening to this performance of Standing on the Moon by the Grateful Dead at Autzen Stadium in 1993. Highly recommend that. Next time you guys are tripping, put that on. You will cry. It's one of the most amazing goddamn things that ever happened. And then I blacked out again. And the next thing I knew, I was on this spaceship, and there were these guys in business suits sitting in front of me, and I knew they were aliens, and I was like, why are you guys dressed in business suits? And they're like, don't worry too much about that. We just take whatever form we want, and this isn't distracting to you. It doesn't matter. And it's interesting also to note that it's not like there were patterns and fractals morphing all around. It wasn't all like that. It was crystal clear. Their faces were normal. The table was normal. Everything was normal. I was in a spaceship, not some psychedelic cartoon imagining of a spaceship, but just a normal spaceship. And, 2000, what was it? The 9/11 had just happened, and the Patriot Act had been passed. So we had all noticed this, and we saw the New World Order coming, and we're like, this isn't good. People were already so paranoid that, I remember John had a report that was due. And he didn't want to say what he actually thought with a camera running. When people turned off the camera, everybody started talking. Man, are you guys sure that the lag is okay? Because everyone is just. So yeah, we were already getting pretty paranoid. And so the aliens were like, you're worried about the Patriot Act and, George Bush and all of these things. But just know that there are sort of like intergalactic agreements between different alien races, and we can't intervene. And also, not just intergalactic agreements between alien races, but also just like when you become enlightened enough, there's just like a code of conduct that is just organically understood. It doesn't require you to, you're not following a mandate. You don't need laws by then. That's the whole idea of like cultivating an illuminated society. People transcend the need for governance. And that's really the only way you guys can, you can reorganize and re-engineer different isms, schisms, games, socialism, communism, capitalism, whatever ism you want. And as long as the people are still brain dead and selfish, then it's never going to change. You have to change the consciousness of the people, and then you can have a better world, So that was basically the message. That, eventually when people are evolved enough, you just know what the universe is dictating to you as far as acceptable conduct goes. Right. And so that dictates to them that they cannot intervene in the activities of a species on a planet until they're literally on the verge of destroying themselves at the very last moment. And I would like to point out at this juncture that here we are at the edge of World War III with the oceans turning to plastic and, all the other insanity that's going on in the world, Putin threatening to blow everyone up and all this stuff. And they're announcing there are UFOs everywhere. I mean, kind of weird how consistent it was with this mushroom trip I had. But so they go on to tell me, so don't worry about it. Right at the last moment, we are going to come swooping down out of the stars and intervene, and everything's going to be fine. But you're not going to like it when you wake up. And I was like, why? And they're like, don't worry about that. We're going to let you have some fun first, though. And they like opened the back of the spaceship, and I went flying out of the back of the spaceship riding on this guitar. And Jerry Garcia flies up beside me, also riding a guitar and like this wave of sound, like a witch on a broomstick. And we went flying around together for a minute, and he's like, this is what I do now. And then he zipped off into the stars, and I was like, wow, that was cool. And then I felt myself get tackled, and I kind of like blipped into like actual reality for a second. And saw the cops, and like my knee get scraped and stuff. But then I like went back out into like hyperspace. And then I remember walking through the jail, and I didn't really know where I was or why. And it hadn't really occurred to me what was happening. I wasn't really sure if it was like mission control or something. But and I remember spitting at the cops and calling them Mexican whores, because there was this Mexican girl that was kind of giving me the eye, and all the Mexican guys there decided that wasn't okay, and they were all like waiting for me in the parking lot, glaring at me every day when I got off of work. Even though I was married and I didn't care about the girl, but there was a lot of tension between like the La Raza Mexicans, and there wasn't any tension on my end, but. So that was on my mind, I guess. And I remember seeing her face on all the cops. and then finally I kind of came to a little bit, or no. They put me in a cell, and I went back into hyperspace. And then I finally came out of it, and I was looking at these pencil drawings. Somebody had made like obscene pencil drawings on the roof of the jail cell. And it was like a woman with big giant boobs and, the stupid shit that some idiot criminal would draw on the roof. And I saw the lines, and they were kind of moving, and I thought, sound makes reality. Consciousness controls sound. So maybe I guess first I saw the toilet, and I realized that I wasn't in the laundry room. Like I thought I had walked down to the laundry room in our apartment complex and just like passed out in there or something, and I was waking up. But unfortunately that wasn't what happened. So I'm looking at these pencil drawings, and I'm realizing that this must be jail on some level. So I'm like howling these sounds, trying to change reality with the sounds. And I remember at one point thinking that there was an eternal Grateful Dead concert happening on the other side of the door, but I was in hell and I would never get let in, but it would just always be going on out there. And every now and then the cops would look through the little hole like, what is this fucking hippie doing? I mean, I'm sure I had dreadlocks. I was wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt, you know, big fat hemp necklace with beads in it and shit, the whole thing. And, you know, I'm just howling my brains out, trying to change the structure of reality with the vibrations to make it not jail anymore. And then they pull me out of the jail cell and they're like, you know, you hit a cop last night? And I'm like, that's not good. And then they took me to a cell and they put me in a cell with this guy. And I was like, what did you do? And he's like, oh, I punched a cop. And I was like, oh shit, me too, I guess. I don't remember, but he's like, I got 11 years. And I'm going like, oh my God. Like it hit me like 11 times 2 is 22. 11, but that's what I thought. 11 times 2 is 22, and apparently I punched 2 cops, so double his sentence maybe. And then the cops came and got me, and they brought me back out again, and the guy was like fingerprinting me and asking me questions and stuff, and I was like, so what am I being charged with? And he's like, I don't know, hold on a minute. And he looks at the thing and he goes, disturbing the peace and resisting arrest. So they just left me in there. Like, I think they deliberately just put me in a cell with a guy that, and maybe even told him to say that, you know, because I was like a 21-year-old kid. They probably deliberately were trying to scare me. And the cops in Durango, Colorado are actually really nice. You know, some of them I actually kind of knew and liked. A lot of us did actually, you know, and it was before weed was legal. You could smoke a joint on the sidewalk talking to a cop and they, you know, it's not like nobody's going to say anything. It was super chill, you know. I really loved that place. And it was probably stupid of me to leave ever. I never should have left. But I had big plans, and I thought going to California would fulfill those plans. But that's later in the story. So eventually I ended up going to court, and the judge was like, what did he do? And they're like, well, he approached the officers spewing this poetry, and they started reading it, and it was insane, man. I don't know what exactly the words were, but I do remember that it was actually decent, you know, and crazy as hell. And the judge was just like, so you fucking tackled him with 5 cops? Like, I don't understand. And the cops are just kind of standing there looking at each other like, you know, and it's true. I didn't really do anything. I was just you know, now I realize I could have sued them to death, you know, and I realized I just said the cops were super chill and all that. But you know, I guess I was just too weird. They just couldn't, you know, I was like spewing this like insane psychedelic interdimensional poetry, and they're just like, fuck this. And, you know, it triggered their cop instinct, and they just tackled me and took me to jail just because I was just weird or something, you know? Man, I'm really getting tired of this lag, which they're not actually allowed to do that. I don't think. So anyways, that, caused a problem with John and I. And so, we had to go and get our own apartment, because I guess, you know, I just went a little bit too crazy and it pissed him off or something. And he, you know, he was kind of on his own weird ego trip at the time. And so we went and moved into this apartment, and we lived there for a while. A friend of mine got murdered on my porch, gutted pretty much. This preacher that used to come over to my house and smoke, he would buy weed from me, and then he would smoke it all at like a 1/4 ounce and do push-ups. And then he said he would stay up all night and continue smoking weed and doing push-ups all night. And he was huge. He was like 60. And he had a little 2-year-old named Miracle that would say, say your ABCs, Miracle. And she'd go, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. This is the weirdest shit ever. And so that guy came home one day and killed Fabian on my porch. And I came home, and there were all these cops everywhere. And I saw the other Fabian, and I'm like, Fabian, what happened? And he's like, Raymond killed Fabian on your porch. And so, no, he wasn't on mushrooms. Or who? I don't know what you mean by on mushrooms. My chat is so far behind, my video. I don't, it's difficult for me to make them correspond. So long story short, because I was friends with Raymond, the other Mexican guys that were my friends in that apartment complex decided I was their enemy. And so we had to leave and we moved out to this farmhouse and it was amazing. This huge prairie on the river. There were massive brown trout and rainbow trout. And, you know, I grew all these opium poppies all around the place. At one point we had 22 cats. I don't know how that happened, but I started just leaving the door open because there were lots of coyotes around and that got the cat population under control. One night we ate mushrooms with, with these 22 or 23 cats in the house. And as soon as the mushrooms kicked in, all their claws went out like thwack. And they just started like tornadoing around the house. Like the one room, it was like a one room, you know, barn type thing that had been converted into living quarters with a bedroom in the background, but they're all in one room, all 23 cats, claws out, whipping around the house. Like it was a nightmare. So that's when, you know, the next night I was like, maybe I'll just accidentally leave the door open. And if the cat population happens to drop around here, it'll be just nature. Man, why is my shit so laggy when I have such fast internet? My mind is blown. So then this is where the story takes a turn for the terrible. Just foreshadowing. I think our neighbors were gone and they asked us to watch their house. And I went down there and was playing video games. And all of a sudden this flame in my arm, like it literally felt like napalm. Like my arm had been dipped in napalm and then lit on fire. And I mean, the pain was incredible. So I also felt a little bit sick and I was like, all right, I got to go lay down. So I go and lay down and then I wake up in the morning screaming already. Before I even wake up, I'm screaming. And I have no idea what's going on. I'm just in flames on my entire body, like I'm being burned alive. And so I get out of bed and I go to take a shower and I cough and this like rubber thing comes out that is obviously like bloody, but also flimmy, fun, right? And like, it's like a little rubbery brain. It's like a brain, but like hard rubber. And it's the size of a golf ball. And then this rash appears and it's in lines, like in, almost like Tic Tac, you know, like flannel or something. And it would fade in and out like all over my body. No, I definitely was not naked when the cops tackled me. I had stains on my knees and stuff from the grass. So, that's how far behind the chat is, man. That's crazy. I actually am even using an Ethernet cable and the lag is still like 10 minutes or something, like really long. So I coughed this thing up and I get this rash all over me and I'm like, something is fucking wrong. And West Nile virus was going around. Yeah, do hit the like button. West Nile virus was going around. The guy that lived there before us in this place had it. And also, though, he had grown some weed that had black mold all over it, and he was a complete idiot. And I smoked some of it with him because he didn't think it was a problem. And after we'd been smoking it for, you know, a week or two, and I saw it, and it had like these strings of black mold hanging off of it. And I'm like, what is that? You know, it's black mold. Black mold will fuck you up for life. So, the bullet point of this presentation really is that I don't know what that was, and it never went away completely. I still have chronic fatigue syndrome to, why is everyone leaving? Is the lag so bad again? God damn it. So I still have chronic fatigue syndrome to some degree. And anyways, so, you know, the pain's still there. So days go by, I don't sleep. I can't sleep even. There's no escape. Like I'm just awake and my body's in flames and, you know, there's no sleeping. Damn, man, that is crazy. My speed is 25. So I'm not sleeping. Like days go by, weeks go by. I guess the people that watch it on the replay, it'll probably be fine though. So I'll just keep trying. Well, I'm just aggravated because we went and bought all this stuff, like a new chip for new minutes and, a cord and all this stuff to fix the streams. It didn't fix it. So flaming pain constantly, day in, day out. I'm just completely reduced to it. Like I'm going to work, my nose is running. I'm holding myself up on the cash register. So at some point somebody's like, well, here, have some OxyContin. And I did them and I was fine. I felt 100% normal. And so then they would wear off and I realized that I was still sick. And I didn't start taking them on a regular basis until months of this. But I figured out that opiates and benzodiazepines made the symptoms go away. So what do you think happened? I basically lost the next 10 years of my life to, it's also a terrible time to stream. My neighbors are all online and they are killing my speed now. So that is why this sucks so badly. Nope. My upload speed is still way above what it needs to be. So I don't know, guys. So anyways, I guess I was at work and some guy had just broken his leg and I was like, oh man, the only thing that helps me is, like Percocets or whatever. And he's like, oh, I got a huge bottle and he gives me those. And so then I start taking them all the time. He didn't want any of them. So he just gave me the whole bottle. And then I realized like I can have my life back if I just take opiates all the time. And then one night I was at a bar with my girlfriend and we wanted to get some blow and there was some guy there and he's like, yeah, come back to my house. And he was a complete junkie. He ended up dying at the age of 22 from like an infected heart or something because he was getting all the cottons from under his like couch, hiding them under his couch and stuff. And they got dust and like paint flecks and shit in them or whatever. And, they thought he was just dope sick. Because he was blue and, it was bad. I could almost do a whole live stream on that guy. It was so over the top insane. His name was Travis, actually. And his girlfriend at the time became my girlfriend some years later. And man, when we get to that part of the story, that's where all the aliens and Indians and all that sort of stuff enters the picture. When I finally, as soon as I got off of these pills, it took a long time, but when I finally did, immediately, it's like the universe just opened up and went transdimensional and, so that's coming after prison. Stay tuned. Okay. So where was that in the story? So the drugs, right? So I go to the kid's house. He's got, liquid, hydrocodone that he's extracted and Dilaudid and heroin and all of this stuff. And I had never tried any of these things. And then, I started smoking heroin every once in a while and learned about Dilaudid and liquid morphine and all of this stuff. So, I actually managed to avoid full-blown addiction for quite a while because I wasn't stupid and I knew what I was messing with. I didn't use needles. I smoked the heroin if I was going to do heroin. I just drank the liquid morphine. I knew that I needed to be careful. I don't know, man, this lag is so bad. I'm tempted to just stop this now and try to pick it up at like 11 o'clock at night when I know it's going to be okay. It was just dumb of me to try to do this at like peak time on a weekday. But whatever, let's keep going, I guess. So all of these pills and stuff did not really kick in right away because I got better for like 2 days. And, or like a week actually once. So that would happen. Like a month would go by, I'd be super sick and like on the verge of death, ready to blow my brains out, thinking I'm dying too. It was all the symptoms of AIDS. And, I had used needles when I lived in DC. I had slept with all kinds of, some of the girls I didn't even know were, prostitutes, on the side and stuff. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, I've given my wife AIDS. So I went and got 2 tests because I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. I thought I've got to have AIDS. There's just no fucking way in hell that I don't have AIDS because I have all the symptoms and, I did all of the stuff, that would cause you to have AIDS. So I must have AIDS. And I went and tested and they're like, nope, no AIDS. And then I got another test and they're like, nope, still no AIDS. So I accepted that I didn't have AIDS. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I just got better. And it was like 1 week, 10 days or something. And you cannot imagine like how happy I was. I'm only 21 years old, and I've had this mystery illness for like 3-4 months now. And suddenly I'm better. And I'm like, man, that was scary. So glad I'm better. And then after maybe 10 days, I wake up and I'm sick again. And it lasts for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then I'm better for 2 or 3 days. And so I went through that for a while until I just finally started taking pills all the time. And that just progressed and progressed and progressed as it tends to do. I did, start really playing guitar. I got hit by a truck and bought a really nice guitar with the money around that time. And it's not all that was going on in my life. I had learned to rock hound. I was, up in the mountains digging gems up. I actually found some pretty valuable stuff a couple of times. I don't know if I started my first band yet. I don't know if I did or not, but definitely was starting to become a serious guitar player and realizing I might have some talent. And, that's why it was so frustrating to get sick too. I mean, I had so much going on and I was so excited about life and, I was trout fishing and all this amazing stuff, I